Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Couchers Podcast, episode number 268. And my guest, Faith Stankevich. I'm your host, Mike Squires, your joyful host. Well, what a treat it was to host Faith on the podcast. I met her some years ago, and she was playing one of the first gigs that I worked when I got back to Seattle. I wasn't playing the gig. I was working the stage. Her band, Acid Tongue, played. Her and Sean, who was on the podcast just a couple episodes ago, were both in that band. A super fun, cool band. And, you know, that's when I started making my little checklist. Like, okay, I'm back. I live, you know, amongst the people again. I got to start. If I'm going to have this studio and doing this thing, I want to be a part of the local music community as well as tapping into the touring musician world. So it's been a real treat for me to get to have folks on who are right here in the Seattle music community. Hopefully I'll get down to Portland and there will be some touring folks coming through. I've got some pretty fun episodes booked and coming up, so stay tuned for that. Like I said, what a treat. I love doing this a whole lot. It's a real gift to have this studio. I get support from a lot of places, and that stuff is never lost on me. This whole experience of taking Couch Riffs to the next level here has really saved me in a lot of ways. So I don't know, I'm just trying to live my happiest life and do my best. So thank you so much. It's incredible. I can't even tell you thank you enough. If viewers, listeners, whoever is watching and listening, if you want to support Couch Riffs, please, by all means, support us at Patreon. That's the only place where Couch Riffs is able to bring any money in. A lot of money goes out. A lot of money went into this space, into equipment, and I would do it whether I had a Patreon or not. That's just because it makes me happy. But as I've said before, I do love sleeping indoors. This is a thing that I aspire to have be my job, you know, as well as being a touring musician. So if you are inspired in any way to support Couch Riffs for as little as $5 a month, like a cup of coffee, you can buy your pal a cup of coffee and he would super appreciate it. And you could walk around knowing you're a superstar and you made someone's life super happy. Thank you to folks who are already supporting. Thank you to folks who are considering supporting. Thank you for watching and listening. Whatever. Thank you for being you. Thank you for pursuing your own happiness. Thank you for being a good person. Thank you for being a good person and, you know, when you're thank you for trying your best even when your best sucks. That's what makes the world a beautiful fucking place. I will say, as always, don't forget the golden rule. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Don't be a dick. You don't want to be treated like a dick. Have a great life. Sometimes at night when it's super hot, I'll just come down here and have a nap on the couch here with the air conditioning on. And it's real nice in the evening when it's still 85 degrees.
Yeah, you have a spot to go to because it's hot right outside that door.
Right outside the door.
It's like you open that door and it's flames.
It's great. It's like walking into a hot yoga studio.
And that's what I thought we were doing. I thought that's where we were going with this.
Did you think that you were going to walk into a sweatbox? Surprise!
Yay! It's a good surprise.
Welcome to the Couch Riffs podcast. We've been trying to make this happen for a minute.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
So far it's my pleasure. Don't ruin it.
Let's see what we can do about that.
This is something that I do with everyone. For people who don't know who you are, will you give the quick, this is my name, this is what I do, or why you should know me?
Right. I don't know that you should know me. My name is Faith. Yeah, you may. My name is Faith Stankevich. I play the drums. And in Acid Tongue, in the Kathy Moore Superpower Trio, and in other things and such and stuffs.
And stuffs.
And stuffs and things. Yeah.
Where are you from?
I was made in New York, and I was raised in Massachusetts.
New York.
So I was made in Manhattan. I was made in the Village, and I lived in New York until about 4.
Yeah.
And then my mom moved me back to Massachusetts to be near her family in Pilgrimlandia.
Where?
It's called Whitman. It's not really called Pilgrimlandia.
Where is it though?
It's in Plymouth County, so halfway between Boston and Cape Cod, Brockton.
Yeah.
Scituate, Marshfield.
Yeah. Did you grow up going out to the Cape, or was that bougie?
That was bougie.
Yeah.
I occasionally, like, I had some friends that, had access to those sorts of things. And so I would maybe sometimes get to tag along. But
I've been out there a couple times and it's so beautiful out there.
It is. I know. And now there's sharks. The Cape now with sharks. They're everywhere.
Jaws.
It's right. I shouldn't be surprised, right? It's the land of Jaws, but yeah.
What kind of, did you grow up in a musical household?
I did. So my dad is a musician. My mom is a dance teacher. My godfather was a drummer. My aunt was a drummer. But I lived mostly with my mom.
Right.
So I grew up in a musical household, like musicals.
Right.
And dancing. But with my dad out there playing the rock and roll. And, I was really close to my godfather who showed me about drums.
What did your dad do?
My dad does play saxophone. He does. He still does it. Bless him.
That's awesome.
I know. Rocking and rolling. Yeah.
I guess I'm always shocked when I meet people whose parents are still here.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, because that must mean that yours aren't. So.
Well, I'm old, and that means they're much older. Was.
So, but here's the thing. I think now we don't have to get into this. I think we're the same age. My parents were 22 when they had me.
Right.
So they're babies. So now they're old. But they're still doing stuff.
Yeah. My mom was 21 when she had me. I was her 3rd child. Which is pretty crazy.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then you get it.
Once I got old enough to realize I never had kids.
Yeah.
To imagine myself at 21 with that sort of responsibility.
Yeah.
My perspective on a lot of things changed.
Sure. I waited till almost twice my parents' age before I had a kid.
Right.
Not quite twice, but almost. Yeah.
I think that's responsible.
Well, it was for me, because if I had had a kid at 22, that would have, who knows? Who can say, right? Sure. Conjecture and whatever, but I don't think it would have been good. Not with how my lifestyle was at that time. Right.
Go on.
Yeah. Do go on. Or how my parents' lifestyle was when they had me,
sure.
Which is why I waited so long. Yeah.
Role models.
Role models of what maybe you don't want to do exactly.
Right. Opposite day.
Opposite day. Exactly.
So, did you basically grow up with drumsticks in your hand?
I grew up with tap shoes on my feet. And
can you still tap?
Really? I'm not great, but I have tap shoes, and I can, if we're jamming, I can add some stuff. I've done it with Kathy, with
really?
a little band. Yeah.
I want to be able to tap dance so bad.
We're gonna make this happen.
I got a gift certificate for tap dance lessons once, 25 years ago. Yeah. But I was too self-conscious to do it.
Yeah.
I was afraid to do it. I would totally do it now. Yeah. But it's cool.
It's cool. It's drums on your feet.
Yeah.
It's drums on your feet. And my mom taught everything, right? Tap, jazz, ballet, the whole nine. And I really wanted to be able to be a ballerina because, like, that's the high bar, right? Ballet and those bodies and the grace and the things, right?
Sure.
And I wasn't. I remember hearing her talk to my godfather, the drummer, and hearing her say, like, yeah, I don't know how old. Maybe I was 12, you know? Yeah, Faith's not really a ballerina, but she can tap dance. You know? I had that moment of like, I'm not. I'm really not, am I?
You're
Yeah.
like, I'm destined to be a truck driver.
Maybe. Or just make a lot of noise, you know?
Right.
Be disruptive, not fall in line.
So, but rhythm was always
Always.
it was always there.
Yeah.
Do you play other instruments because of all of those things around you?
Define play. I have guitars. I have a bass. You know, I have keyboards. I have a piano. I do what I need to do to get what I need out of it, you know?
Right.
So, like I wanted to sing, so I learned how to accompany myself on guitar. And that was the first instrument I really picked up was guitar. And not well, you know, but enough to strum the chords and finger pick and do the things.
Same.
Did the eye roll?
It was the allure of drums due to like watching your godfather play, or is it because you just gave in to that desire that all musicians have, and that is that the drums is the best job on stage?
I think it's more like that. So I didn't actually get to watch Kenny. May he rest in peace, Ken Schulman. He had packed up his drums by the time I was old enough to understand anything in life, right? I have those drums. He packed those Ludwig transition badge drums into his closet, and I got them. I have them.
You still have
I
them.
have them. They're glorious, and all of his cymbals. I use them for recording. I don't take them out anymore because, you know, but yeah, they're my babies.
That's awesome.
So what we would do is, you know, so he lived in New York and we lived in Massachusetts, my mom and I. And he would fly me. So at a certain point, I should go back. So my mom was a single mom. She was trying to start her dance school. She went from New York, dancing on Broadway a little tiny bit. And my dad was touring and doing all this stuff. So we moved back to Massachusetts where her family's from. And, you know, at a certain point, she's like, I think I might need some help, not just my parents, but like I might need another, like a male role model for Faith. My dad, awesome. I love both my parents. They're still alive. I love them. They weren't, you know, they weren't prepared for the job. My godfather was a lot more responsible. So she started shipping me to New York to go and learn, you know, whatever. He would buy me clothes for school because we couldn't afford them. You know, I would get like a whole other world, right? Go to Queens and, you know, and he had a straight job at that point. So he would take me to Tower Records. He was the person that, you know, that showed me the stuff, you know. Yeah. He made sure that I knew who Muddy Waters was before any of my friends ever did. He bought me my first Rolling Stones records because that's what I loved. That was my band.
Well, if we are the same age, it wasn't particularly in vogue to be into Muddy Waters as a kid.
Mm-mm.
Maybe now there's something to it. Yeah. Now that there's been like 20 years of heavy duty blues revivalists.
Yes. But yeah, like that and Joe Cocker, you know, and Leon Russell, of course, the same. And then the Meters, all that. Right, all the stuff. And then he'd go to New Orleans all the time. So he'd ship me all this stuff, all these, you know, art and music. And it was great. It was great. It changed everything for me. So I'd fly there. I started going there when I was 9 or 10.
Right.
You know, and it changed my life. You know, how music just like changed, like it's for some of us, especially, right? Especially because I was watching some of your interviews and, you know, I was watching one with Dave that you just did recently, I think. And I was like, oh, I think I might have, you and I might have a couple things in common, just in the way
I
that,
hope not, for your
well,
sake.
I could say the same to you, right? But just, whatever. And I want to say that maybe you understand the concept of at a certain point when you're young, music sort of saves your life,
For sure.
and it maybe even continually does throughout your whole life, right? And so for me, that was like I found the Rolling Stones through like a friend's older sister, and then started diving into the Beatles and all that. And then Kenny brought me in and just gave me all this music. So when I was hanging out, thinking that the world was going to end around me, I had that. And so why was it drums? I think the tap dancing made me understand rhythm. I think my godfather was a hero, and my aunt was also like, a mythical figure for me.
And she played drums also.
She did. So when we left I'm just going to give it all to you. When we left my dad's place, in New York, we moved in with his cousin. I call her my aunt, but he's really her, it's like second cousin or whatever. And she had a band, like a rock band with a bunch of women. So we're like living in New York.
Rad.
Rad. And she was the drummer. She went on to drum on Broadway. Now she works at 30 Rock doing teleprompting or whatever. But, she's,
right.
Yeah, but just a New York girl the whole way.
You're still in touch with her?
I am. Yeah.
She's so stoked for you.
She is. I think I'm like, I think she's probably puzzled. Like, don't you see that that's really hard? Why would you do that? Like, right. I don't know. What are my choices?
Once something saves your life, anytime things get hard, you go back to it. Even if your life doesn't need saving, it's a comfort zone.
Yeah. Well, and once you discover that thing, so for me, I was never like, I didn't start playing drums till later. So it's not like I was, in high school in a room by myself, just shredding and woodshedding and doing the whole thing, right? I like came out to it later. So I've never been that like super chopsy,
right.
whatever technique person. I'm like, this is what my body wants to do because I'm a dancer at heart. And this is how I hear music, and this is how I feel a groove. And, I just put that out. But I always say, I think ultimately it's probably saved me like, I don't know how many dollars in therapy. It's you just go and you rage, pain.
I'm a terrible drummer, but I'm always so happy when I'm behind the drums.
Are you terrible? Or are you just terrible compared to like all the people you know?
I'm terrible compared to a drummer.
Yeah.
That's not me being critical.
Yeah, all right.
Self-critical.
Yeah.
But I think it's the most fun job on stage.
Yeah.
It's the most physically gratifying on stage.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. It's a powerful position. And it's it's cool to other drummers and it's cool to musicians, but I think it's kind of I'll walk around after a gig, with the singer or whatever of whatever band,
Right.
and people be like, "That was amazing," and they don't see me, they're not sure I was on stage,
Right.
and that's fine, this kind of, like it's okay, right? It's like kind of a nice thing.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Because you're doing a job, you're building a foundation. I like that feeling.
It's fun. It's funny that a lot of people that are maybe it's that there's so much control in drumming, right? You're controlling the tempo, controlling when the song starts.
Volume.
Not all the songs. Yeah. Dynamic. And most drummers are positioned at the back.
Yeah.
Most of them don't get a lot of spotlight.
No.
Or focus.
Yeah. Unless they're like super like, chopsy, I'm going to,
right.
John Bonham or something.
And the people up in the front, are envious because of all those reasons.
Oh, you mean you think that like the guitar?
Absolutely. Are you kidding?
Really?
Everyone's super critical of a drummer because if your drummer sucks, your band sucks, right? Doesn't matter how good the rest of the band is.
It's true. It's some pressure, man. Especially when you're recording like on tape,
Right.
you know, and you're like, all of you can punch in. All of you can like overdub. You can all do this again. I got to get this right now. That's hard. It's pressure.
No, you get a click. You don't get to go bar to bar and make sure all your cute little parts are good and in tune.
Oh, that's so sweet. How precious.
Drummers knock it out.
Yeah. Or try. I just did a recording. I just heard it yesterday for the first time. I did a recording and we didn't use a click. Like I'm like, give me a click. Just let me have a click. But it was to tape. And the person whose band it was like, no. He's like, I want this authentic. And so like I'm listening to this and I'm like, all right, I get it. Also, I hear it rushing. There it goes. I'm like, damn it. But I get it. You know.
There are a lot of famous recordings that the tempo is all over.
Yes. Also, people now I think are trained to hear not that. You know, you hear those famous recordings and you're like, oh, that's quaint or badass or whatever, but it's like baked into the fabric of who you are as a listener and as a musician.
Have you ever heard someone took, I don't remember which Van Halen track it was, but they quantized it and pitch corrected everything so that it sounded like it was recorded in modern times?
Did it suck?
It sucks.
Yes.
It fucking sucks.
Right.
It's got no soul.
Yeah.
It's got no humanity.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? That's the thing. It happens a lot. Like it takes the danger out of a recording. You know, there's something nice about when you're like on the edge. Like
that's rock and roll.
That's rock and roll.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
So when did you start playing the drums? When did you get was that drum kit you're telling me about your first drum kit?
No. No. So when I moved, I started out college as an economics major and I switched to being an art major and I moved to Colorado. And I think, so probably like my second or third year in college is when I started playing drums. I had already been playing, some acoustic guitar and singing and whatnot. And, I hadn't been dancing. I'd, left all that or whatever. And I was at Red Rocks. I was watching, I don't know if I want to say the band, but.
You were watching Fish.
And.
Were you watching Fish? God, I hate them.
I know you do. All right, here's the thing. All right, let me.
They're fine musicians. You know what I do like about them is that
Don't try
their Halloween shows.
Yeah. Well, they play a different album.
Where they play where they play good music.
Understand this. I'm from Massachusetts, man. Okay, right. So I'm from this place where it was like preppy and whatever, and I was trying to find my alternative little world because You're
from Fishburg.
I'm from Fishlandia.
Yeah.
And so when I started seeing this band, because that's where the hippies, the alternative people that I found, I wanted to find punk rock. I just didn't know how.
Right.
It's just not. So I found hippies and that was okay. And then I was going to these shows and, do you ever play the Living Room in Providence? Do you know that place? It's small.
No.
It's a small place. It's a club. And I was going there and there was this band. And, so I was seeing these little shows.
Fish.
And it was Fish.
Playing in, what's the cap there?
I meant to look that up because I thought that could come up, even though I was hoping that this might not come. Anyway.
Don't be embarrassed about your affinity for Fish.
Listen, I don't have an affinity for Fish. Okay, I haven't seen a show since 1996 or whatever. But all of that aside, when I heard them, what I did love, I loved like John Zorn and Wayne Horvitz and like
Sure.
all that Axiom Records stuff and Praxis and Material, right? Fish, they were good musicians. And if you took the acid, Mom, I'm not saying I took the acid. If one could conjecture, if one did, then, you could, it was interesting music, right? It was interesting music. The words were dumb. The vocals were lame, all of that stuff, but.
Super dumb.
Super dumb. I know. But it was like what I had, it's what I had. It was the alternative world that I had exposure to.
Right.
Do I wish it was Fugazi? Yes. That would have been cool.
You probably didn't even know that Fugazi existed.
I did not know that. I did not know that. I knew this. I knew a lot of funk. I knew a lot of blues, and I knew this, right? Like, that's where I came from. Later on, I found cool music, but at this time, this is where I was. So I was at Red Rocks on the acid, watching John Fishman play. And I was like, I think that's what I'm supposed to do. So within like 3 months, I was in a band. I went home and I put phone books all around, and I took everything I knew from what my godfather told me, and he's consulting me, and I got to do the paradiddles, and I got to do the thing. And I set up a little phone book/book pillow drum set, and I just figured it out. And I had friends who were musicians, and they brought me to the rehearsal space and showed me some things, and I just went. And then I just played in a band. How
many times had you played on an actual drum kit before you played with a band?
Well, you mean like before I joined a band? So I was super lucky to be able to play with amazing people like the second time I was on a kit. You know what I mean? Like there were people there that were just like, oh no, just, well, right there. Oh, yep, that's good timing. Here we go. Here, try this. Okay, great. And I just took to it. I'm like, I get this. Right. Like a fish to water.
Ew.
I'm sorry. It happened. I thought it came out. I'm sorry. Boo. Oh my God. You got to erase like the last 10 minutes. Nobody's ever going to give me any credibility again after this. Anyway, this is the truth of it all. This is where I came from.
No way, a lot of people like shitty music.
Yeah. It's just what happened, No. And then from there.
Look, I saw The Dead a bunch of times.
Me too.
And they sucked too. And I was on all the drugs. I tried them all.
And nothing made them good.
No.
Yeah.
They have some good recordings. And.
Yeah. It's a thing. I get it.
Oh, man, you got to hear the live Monterey 78
21370, man. That's the one. No, I know.
Get out of here with that shit.
That's right.
And kids don't know because they didn't fucking see it.
Right.
Jerry was fucking dead when they were born.
Yes. And maybe even while he was playing. A little dead. I don't know. I'm just saying. But the last shows I saw.
I'm going to get a lot of hate for this.
I'm sorry. I love Jerry. I'm sorry.
I loved his bluegrass stuff.
Yeah. Old and in the Way.
So good.
Yeah. Me
so
too.
Good.
Well, he's a master. He's a master. He learned all that Bill Monroe stuff. He did it. And then he created a whole world.
Do you know what that band should have done?
Do tell.
Rehearsed.
I know. They did in front of thousands of people. Every night.
I'll bet, and this is something that everyone is gonna fucking hate, and I'll never know because I never say never. I'll bet the fucking Dead and Company with John is fucking better than the Dead. I'll bet it is. I'll bet it is.
I'm gonna say no because everyone is so aren't they tired? I don't know. We can't keep talking about this. People are gonna hate us both.
I don't care.
I love the Dead. I have not gone to see Dead and Company. It's been many, many, many years. All that. Yeah, I don't really care.
I love that they picked the guy that is so, at least in physical appearance, not Jerry.
Well, I mean, that's good, right?
I love that they picked this a younger dude. Yeah. He's old by young people's standards.
Sure.
But to me, he's a young guy.
Yeah, contemporary.
He's super overconfident. and really funny.
And my understanding is he like
douche.
wears pajamas.
It's so great. I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
And he's really good. Like you can't possibly say John Mayer sucks.
Or that he can't play.
Yeah, he can't play, can't sing. No, fuck. Bullshit.
And do all that stuff.
Like you cannot like it if you don't want to.
Right. And that's
okay, so you're a hippie. That's fine.
You know what? Probably. So, yes, I think in my heart, I am probably a hippie.
That's fine.
You know, in the way that like so I gravitated towards that scene because because of what I came from, you know, there was some darkness and some stuff, right? And I just wanted goodness and light and social responsibility. You know, I just wanted to be around people that were trying to make the world better. I learned that wasn't necessarily, present. But in my heart, that's what I was drawn to. I'm like, I just want to be good. I just want to do good things in the world.
For the record, I want to say I like East Coast hippies better than West Coast hippies. Having lived on both sides of the country now.
Yeah, a little edgier.
Well, they can be soft on the inside, but they communicate more directly.
Yeah. In general, East Coast people do, yeah.
And I appreciate that.
I do too, because they don't tend to get their feelings hurt quite as easily, or you don't feel like you have to parse things quite as much. You can just be like, I'm having a thought and I'm saying the thought. And you're like, that was a dicky thought. I didn't really, I'm not going to totally stand behind that thought. And the person's like, all right.
Right.
We can agree that was kind of a dicky thought or whatever. Or maybe it wasn't. You know what? Maybe I should think about that dicky thing you just said, you know?
Colorado is kind of it's West Coast, but people are not as hippie. They're not as passive aggressive as here.
No, I think Colorado, I think when I was there, I felt like it was more like genuinely hopeful. You know, I felt like, everyone I kind of encountered, and maybe it was a product of the age I was and, the time it was, but I felt like people were really genuinely kind.
Where were you?
In Greeley, Colorado.
Greeley.
Yeah.
Where is that?
So it's north of Denver. It's east of Fort Collins. I thought I was going to like a lovely little mountain town. I didn't research much. We could afford it, I'd gotten into NYU. We couldn't afford that. But I could afford UNC. So I went there, and in the catalog, there's like a big picture of like the Rockies and the campus. Yeah. And then we're like going there. I went with my best friend at the time, who now lives in West Seattle. We're like driving there from Denver. And I'm like, but the mountains are over there.
It's like kind of high desert, yeah?
Yeah, steppe climate, plainsy.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah. And the world's largest, at the time, meat processing plant.
They built a bigger one somewhere.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't keep up on it, I'm just saying at the time as a qualifier, because I don't know if it still is, but at the time it was. And I was already a vegetarian. So that just solidified that, biz. That was it.
Right.
That's all that was ever going to. I'm like, okay, committed. So yeah. So it's out in nowhere land, which, as it turns out, was kind of a good thing. There's nothing else to focus on. You're doing your work. You're getting your artwork done. You're playing music, So it was good.
So was your first band a jam band?
Dagobah.
You guys are really into Star Trek, huh?
Wars. Good one. Was it a jam band? No. So there were 2 people from the music school and 2 people from the theater school and the art school kid. And it was more like one of them really liked Latin music. One of them was really just theatrical, writing crazy stuff. And one of the songwriters couldn't count to 4, right? So we would have these phrases that like ended up in 17. So it was kind of proggy weird, right? And so, I'm like, that's cool. I know how to count. Like, I'm a dancer. Yeah, I can do this. This is great. So, all right, I'm ready to do this. Ready? 5, 6, 7, 8. And they'll stop. They're like, that's not
how you count.
That's not what we do. Okay. But yeah, so it was.
Why do dancers start at 5?
Why do they? I don't know. Why not? A 5, because you want that 4 count, but your phrases are an 8, and you don't want to count.
Takes a whole bar to relax.
So, well, you're not going to count out a whole 8, right? But if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, but you know that your phrase is going to be an 8, you don't want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You go 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So it's like, so you only have to do the 4, but it's not, right? Does that make sense?
I don't know.
That didn't make sense?
If it makes sense to me or
not.
not.
Are you going to sit there and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and go?
I might just count to 4. I might abbreviate.
But if you count to 4, then you have to start at 1 again, even though your phrases are an 8.
It's like 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
It is.
5, 6, 7, 8 is incrementally just counting to 4.
It is.
With alternate titles.
But then you start on the 1 where the 1's supposed to start. After the 8.
Words.
That's
just
all.
Words.
That's all any of this is.
So you were dance counting the rock songs in. That's fun.
So that was fun.
That's fun.
Yeah. And I've kind of felt like that my entire career.
When was the last time you did it? Have you done it since, just out of like old habits die hard?
No, I did that once.
Right.
Unless I was kidding, maybe once or twice.
Right.
But I think I'm going to start doing that.
You should.
Right?
You should count it out loud.
5, 6,
so
7.
that everyone hears you
right.
in the back of the room. And maybe it'll inspire people to dance.
Maybe it will. Yeah. I don't know. Could do. What do we know until we try?
How long did Dagobah play?
Like 3 years, maybe.
Awesome.
Something like that. And then I moved to Seattle. So it played up until I moved to Seattle.
And did you guys just play around town? Did you guys go to Fort Collins or none of that?
None of that. Nope. I was in like like my boyfriend at the time was running sound. So I would go all over Colorado as like part of a sound crew.
Right.
But not playing music. Not until I didn't ever leave town with music until I moved to Seattle. And then I did.
When did you get here?
96.
It was a pretty fun time to be here, I thought.
It was, right? I mean, I missed the like heyday and all of that. But I really, like, as soon as I graduated college, my dad, as a musician, calls up and he's like, all right, here's the thing. You probably don't want to stay in Colorado if you're going to try to do anything with music. Where do you want to go? And in that moment, I was like, Seattle. And I had friends that had come from here. And, it was like a mythical place to me because I fell in love with the mountains of Colorado, right? But I missed the ocean. And I'm like, there's a place where the mountains meet the ocean and it goes through a rainforest? What is this mythical Hobbitlandia? And it was, and it is. Right?
I think this place is so fucking amazing.
Me too.
And I've been around.
All the things. It has all the things.
It does.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I would have to have an incredible opportunity elsewhere for me to leave. Same.
Yeah. I'm not motivated at all to leave unless it were going to be like I get to move to Spain or something, super dope.
Agree.
Right.
So you get here in 96.
Mm-hmm.
Did you drive here?
I did. U-Haul.
Mm-hmm. You got your drum kit?
I did. I had my drum kit, my little Stratocaster.
Your fucking futon.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, all that stuff. Landed in Capitol Hill.
Right on I was living on Capitol Hill at that time. Where did you move to?
Belmont, it was really close to the B&O.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Down there.
Yeah. It was great. And what did I do? What was I even doing at that point? I was like working at a woman who was importing like jewelry and stuff from India. I had been working at a head shop in Colorado, in Greeley. So I was like reinforcing my hippie, whatever.
Yeah, of
course. And I moved here and, started working at an art supply store after that. And then the pipe shop at the Pike Place Market.
I was just going to say, you should have gone to the pipe shop in the market.
And I did. Yeah. And I worked there for a while.
Good for you.
I know.
I bought a 5-foot bong there once.
You could do that. It was a thing you could do.
A 5-foot bong.
Yes. Like slightly shorter than I am.
Who fucking needs a 5-foot bong?
Like a giant person.
A drug addict.
Yeah. Maybe a drug addict. Or like a 10-foot tall person.
Or if you want to look at it in a really positive, sort of optimistic way, a person who is motivated by absolute potential.
Yes. I can fit all of that in my lungs. Right? That's just like
check out my capacity, bro.
Impressive. Aspirational.
How long did you work there?
A couple years. And then and I met amazing people. I don't know if you knew John Hale, John and Tracy Hale. Both of them, rest in peace. John was in a band called Gorilla back in the like he moved out in the Tad days, like in the Boise crew, came out here. And so then all of a sudden I was plugged in. Oh God, you think you might have thought about giving me grief about the whole hippie thing? John just called me the hippie. He's just like, you're the hippie. But he loved me, and I worked at the shop, and I made pipes for him and played a little music and got set right about some stuff.
Good.
And then probably had some cautionary tale situation stuff happen too, like, oh, okay.
That is awesome. When did you start playing music here? Right away?
Right away. Yeah. I was in a band within, a couple months.
Tell me about that.
Okay. So I met a woman named Alicia Dara, a singer-songwriter, and I was working this is right before the pipe shop. I was working at this stationer's store, like a stationer's / art supply, and I was in the art supply part. And she came in and we met, and then she's just like, I need a drummer. Like, great. And so I just started doing this kind of more singer-songwriter stuff. So that was like my foray into that. I hadn't done that before. I was more into the exploratory, free Dagobah world.
Right.
And a blues band too. I did that a little bit too, but not well. But yeah, so then I started doing that, and then it was just like, meet one band after another, and just kept it going.
Where was your first gig in Seattle? Do you remember?
I want to say it might have been the Color Box. If it wasn't the Color Box, it was like right.
Swan Cafe. It was around the corner.
Yeah. Sit and Spin, or what was the Speakeasy or something like that. It was like, but the Gibson House, like those were the places.
I liked the Color Box. It was a rough load in.
I don't remember it. It was a shoebox, right? It was like a big. Yeah, it sounded kind of crazy in there.
I played a lot there.
Yeah?
I played there a lot.
You did?
Yeah.
That's a good spot. Who did you play there with back then?
My hippie jam band.
Do tell.
No way.
Come on.
No way.
Come on.
We were called Eat the Feeling.
Oh, nice. Did you?
We were always so high.
You were.
Are you kidding me?
So did you play high a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we rehearsed super high. And I worked in the Pike Place Market.
When? Were we there at the same time?
For years. I worked first at Corner Produce.
Okay.
And then at Frank's Produce.
Okay. I don't know the difference.
Well, one is on the corner and one is not on the corner.
One is called
and they
Frank's.
have different names.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're up like, outside, like kitty corner across the cobblestones from where they throw the fish out.
The pig. Yeah.
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 So I would go work there for 11 hours, then go home, have dinner, and then we would just rehearse, which meant just play our 7-minute songs.
Yeah.
Over and over and over and over and over, with some amount of precision, but mostly just to get the reps in so that we could play freely with confidence.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was a great education, actually.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure it was.
But I would get so high that by 11 o'clock, at that point, I'd been up, for whatever, 16 hours.
Yeah, you were exhausted.
Terribly exhausted.
Yeah.
I would be falling asleep standing up and still playing.
Well, you could do it in your sleep. That's how good you are.
Well, let's not get excited with our words. All right, so you shed the hippie music.
Yeah, probably.
But we had a conversation one night where you were telling me about the second phase of your sort of like, you were part of the community over there, the sea monster, whole sea monster world. Was that was later?
Yeah, that was later.
Because when did that place come along?
That's a good question. I think I was living above it by maybe like 2004, maybe 3, 4, something like that. So that's when it came along for me. And it had been open. Was that right? I think that's right. Yeah.
We're just going to go with it for now. If people want to fight us, they can fight us.
Fight me.
1-800-EAT-A-DICK.
That's too many. That's too many numbers.
Too many numbers.
But yeah, I found that world, which is kind of going back to the hippie jam world a little bit, right? Because, I'd sort of ish. So, but funk.
Right.
From like a more of a funky and acid jazz kind of perspective.
Right.
And that was great. Actually, I got to play with some monster players then. I was really lucky, and I continue to be, in so much as I feel like I've always been able to, or at least almost always been able to play with musicians who are far better than I am, where I have to like really work to just keep up.
That's the dream.
It's like the best. You don't get bored. You have to stay on your toes. So consequently, I've never been a stoned player. Like I could never do anything. I've always had to be pretty like, I know, weird, right? For the hippie girl.
That's
I was
fine.
always like kind of like maybe a little tequila or something, but like one,
Right.
But I couldn't. I know. That was it's a thing. That being said, I'm not going to say when this happened. I might have eaten a gummy. Might not have been that long ago.
Go on.
I might have forgotten that I had a rehearsal. Decided to paddleboard, hang out, then gotten a call. You're supposed to be here. And so maybe I might have, in a gummied state. Maybe it was last week. Maybe it was longer. Maybe it was much longer ago. Maybe it was last week.
You got so high last week that you forgot you had a show.
Rehearsal.
Okay,
That's
all right.
Because I'm like an on-time person. I'm an on-time. I remember the things. I don't remember much, but there's things that I do remember. I remember music, and I remember to be on time.
You were on time here. That was great.
Right, I was on time.
Right.
And when I thought like I might even be like a little bit late, I'm like, I might be. There's crazy traffic, just so you know.
Did you hear about the drummer who was so distraught about their bad timing that they threw themselves behind a train? Hey! I'll be here all week.
Oh, good. Try the veal? I don't know.
But you threw yourself right into that world.
Mm-hmm. To the sea monster world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, oh, yeah. And Toast. Did you ever know a place called Toast?
Was it in Fremont?
It was.
Yeah.
Now it is Red Star Tacolandia next to the High Dive.
Right.
Yeah. So it was before the High Dive opened. It turned into like White Rabbit or whatever. So I had been in a band called the In Out, which is like a mod band. And it was original with some like Who and Kinks and that kind of thing. Really fun. Because I had met I started like a silk screening job and I met my buddy Bill Jones, who's a trumpet player and like total mod kid. And just like he came down to a rehearsal. I was just like playing with some friends at that point. I was like not really playing with anyone, but just, you know, whatever, trying to make something happen. And he came down to a rehearsal and he heard it and he's like, nope, no. And then he like put me in this band. It's like, whatever's happening there is not happening. So.
Fucking mods, man. They're so judgmental.
So judgy, right? Right. Anyway, he was also right. So, so he brought in this Bob Lovelace on bass, and actually no, this guy Mike Kubik was playing bass. Bob was playing guitar.
Wait a minute, what?
What?
Mike Kubik?
Yeah.
Is he still in town?
You know Mike Kubik?
We worked in the market together.
Yes, he is still in town. Yes, he is still in town. Yep. I saw him recently.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
What a lovely guy.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, he played bass. We had a good time. He's still doing great as far as I can tell. I don't know if he's playing. But yeah, so that's funny. Yeah. So Bill and Mike and Bob Lovelace and Brian Ray, Sting Shark. And we were doing like we were doing a little mod band. And then Sting Shark had a band that was basically Fat City Smokehouse, but he was fronting it, so there was no Ernest. And Davey C couldn't keep doing drums because he was playing with, I don't know, everybody.
Right.
So I started playing with Sting Shark, and then that brought me into Marmalade. And Marmalade is still running. But that was like a all improv all night kind of situation. So I started doing that every week. I'd had like another improv band, Stankevich.
I love a good wordplay.
Yeah. Well, according to my dad,
yeah,
our last name. So I'm Lithuanian. Like Stankevich is not a Lithuanian name. It's like a Croatian or a Bosnian take on a Lithuanian name. The Lithuanian version is Stankevich.
Is that right?
I mean, I haven't seen it like on a birth certificate anywhere, but
Stankevich sounds like a Fishbone album that never came out.
I know. So I was like, and I'm not going to change my name at this point, but I'm like, that's dope. Like, that is a good name.
Right.
So that was my improv. And I would have great people like Thaddeus Turner and Jeremy Lightfoot, would come and play. So again, there I am, positioning myself to be the absolute worst person on the stage and naming it after myself. What is that? The hubris. That was great. It was great. I was so lucky.
Fortune favors the bold.
Fortune. But that's the funny thing is that I don't even really feel like I was very bold. Like, because I've always just sort of been like, what am I doing here? Why? Even today, I'm like, why does he even want to talk to me? Like, this is crazy, but awesome. I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it.
If you don't feel like that at some point, like on a at least a semi-regular basis, I fucking feel like you are doing it wrong.
Yeah. Well,
or you're not challenging yourself enough.
I think if you don't feel like that, then I feel like maybe you're not like, all of that has led me to be super grateful. Right. And I feel like that gratitude, I mean, I know that. So there's the hippie, right? Like that's the hippie part of me that never died. It's like that feeling of like, wow, am I lucky to do this? Like, am I so lucky that I still get to do this stuff, right? And that's not like, hey, I hung in there. I worked. I took drum lessons. I've done, I've continued to push forward. Also, I've been really lucky that people who were definitely, by every single measure, more experienced and maybe naturally talented and like, whatever, all the things were willing to play with me and be like, hey, all right, you're fun. I like your groove. Let's do this thing.
I relate to that deeply.
Yeah?
Yes.
But you're a badass.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
If you see me playing something on stage, I have sat in the fucking hot little room at the back of my little house and sweated it out.
Yeah.
I've played it 500 times.
Yeah.
Because I'm not Jeff Fielder's a person who
I just thought the same thing.
Strikes me as someone who could walk up and do it. But I also know that he puts in the work. Like when he gets involved in something, I've had the pleasure of doing a few things with him. And when he does something, he's 100%.
Yeah.
And that's inspiring to me.
Totally.
100. Like if all you're giving is 100%, I'm a little disappointed.
Right. Well, and if you're on the stage with him, you have to you got to double down as best you can.
It inspires me.
Yeah, me too. We just were, we did Tree Fort, this past Tree Fort. We were both in Stephanie Ann Johnson's band. And I also was there to play an Acid Tongue. But it was that oh boy, all right. I gotta get this together, oh, I have to be on stage with Jeff. It was great, because he's gracious and wonderful. And, so we had we rode to Boise together and just we didn't even have music. We just for 8 hours in the car, broke down, fixed the car, got some snacks, kept going, it was a good time.
Yeah. Probably the van just needed snacks.
That's it. Yeah. It actually needed a rock. It needed to be hit with a rock. It's a thing. It's true.
Starter.
Was
it the
no, the channel thingy for the battery thingy was coming off, and you could, so the battery was, and anyway, it wasn't affixed to it where it should have been, and it had moved, and the things were kind of off, and I'm like, oh, should I just hit it? And he's like, not with your hand. I'm like, should I just? And then I grabbed a rock. I wanted to Fonzie it. Right. I'm like, I can Fonzie. So then I grabbed a rock, and it kind of looked like a duck, which he really appreciated because he likes ducks. And he just went boom, boom, and it started, and it was great.
Awesome.
It was awesome.
It's a magic touch.
Yes, with everything apparently. Yes.
So in 96, speaking of Davey C, you missed Image.
I missed Image. It's true. Yeah. Sadly.
What a band.
I bet.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And I love Davey C to this day. I just saw him on the 4th of July. I accidentally stumbled across a gig he was playing. And I was like, here we are in Des Moines. Crazy. And
right.
It's every single time. Let me shout out to Davey C. When I first, within 6 months of moving here, I was buying sticks at the Guitar Center. And, I'm like, I'm poor. I'm like, I'm getting a pair. Davey C, is buying a brick. He's buying a stick brick, right? And I'm just like, wow, he must be such a professional. He's getting a whole brick of them, he's gonna go through them,
That was a week's worth of sticks.
That was a rehearsal. Right away, he was just like, who are you? And let me just encourage you.
Yeah.
Let me just give you nothing but sweet encouragement. And he was like that. And still is like that. I saw him the other day. He's just a huge cheerleader all the time. And so I'll always be that for him as well. Just, one of those people that you're like, may you have every success in this life because all you've ever done is give love that I've ever seen,
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. He's always been so good to me.
feel like it's so much easier to be supportive than it is to be a hater.
I suppose it depends. Like for me, yeah, too, that same thing, right? But that's because I don't like to feel, icky and uncomfortable like that. It makes me uncomfortable when I see someone feel bad, especially if I feel like they don't deserve to feel bad, you know?
Sure.
Like if I see someone kick a dog, I can't remember ever seeing that. But like if I see something, terrible happen, I want them to feel bad. But like for the most part, you want to enter a room and you want it to be lifted, you
Right.
know? You don't want to bring a thing down. You don't want to make people feel worse. Life is hard,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And especially if you've
course.
lived through business, right? If you've
For
lived
anything.
right, if you've like seen darkness, and especially as a young person, as a really little person, I think if you see darkness and you work your way out of darkness enough to see light, and enough to be encouraged and whatever, you're like, "Ooh, I want to live there." Oh, wait, there's a choice. I want to go there.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Yeah, it's like fucking having a tree fort in an enchanted forest.
Yes. Yes.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Like every day I wake up and I smile.
Yeah.
As corny as I know that sounds super corny.
Yeah.
But I wake up and I kind of look around and I'm like, it's not a dream.
Right.
This is happening. This is amazing.
Yeah. I get to play music. I have love. Great dogs. Great dogs.
But I think I've encountered this a couple times recently with friends, people that I love. And it's a bummer. And I'm going to talk to them about it. I have to. And if you're listening, this is about you. This is about you. If you think it's about you, it is. People talk crazy shit
about other people.
Yeah. And out of like from a bad place, not like that person is a bad person or whatever. Like, I can't believe that my band doesn't get to do that, or I can't believe that I don't have this or that. And this person who I am better than gets to do it and I don't.
Yeah.
And all I hear, and this is maybe a shortcoming of mine, but all I hear is them talking about me that way as soon as I'm not in the room.
Same.
And I'm like,
exactly.
Well,
yep.
Is
that what you think about me? I totally relate to what you're saying.
It's bullshit.
Well, it's ungracious. It's bitter. And I think that like bitterness will always lead to suffering, mostly your own suffering, right? It's like, why live there?
Absolutely.
And only you can take yourself out of that place. Only you can get yourself out of this. And you can tell that person, like, I think you're wonderful. You're a total badass. Yes, you're just as good as you think you are. All of those things. But like, you can't make someone love themselves enough to not feel shorted,
right.
or feel like there's something wrong. It's like, if you are like, just be a little more happy with yourself, and maybe you won't look at other people and think I should have what they have. Right. I don't know. Be grateful. But that's the gratitude thing, right? I don't know. It's a thing, right?
I feel like maybe it's a part of getting older.
Yeah. It is not, getting older is interesting. I mean, especially now, right? Now, for me, I play with people that are definitely much younger, some of whom you've interviewed.
What's that?
Some of whom you've interviewed.
Right.
Right? And it's, it's kind of weird because you're like, oh, I'm older than your mom. But like also, literally. But also it's like, we have way more in common than is different. And those things that are different, like, yeah, whatever, I'm a mom and, I have all this other stuff and these different responsibilities and whatever. But the bottom line is when we get on that stage, we are a thing together, and none of that other stuff matters. So for me, I feel like I sort of hit a wall with people my own age and a little bit older, and I felt like there was definitely something in the rock scene that was really difficult for me to break into, which is kind of why I think I went more towards that funk scene, because those guys were like open to me,
Right.
They're like, I wasn't, I'm not a hipster kid. I'm not particularly cool. I have a thing, but whatever. But, like the Thaddeus Turners and the Davy C's and the Bob, like those guys were all like, come on in. Like, this is fun. But the rock scene seemed like that was a little harder to kind of get into. And then I got to play with Kathy, and I got to play with all like the women, of course, were like, hey, let's all do this thing together. And that was awesome. And then, I found Freak Out, and I found that scene, and they didn't seem to give a shit about how old I was or even notice, or, even when they did, they didn't care. And it was like
Non-issue.
And also, oh my God, here is the music I have been looking for. All I ever wanted was like garagey. I mean, for me, like all the groove stuff, that was great. That taught me how to listen. That taught me how to react. That taught me how to be like a live player. And I love it. And I love improvising on stage. I think it's awesome. But in my essence of who I am, I feel like rock and roll is like, it's what saved my life. It's the thing. And it's like the protest, the spirit of it, It
presents a different energy.
It does, and I love it.
Yeah.
I want to watch a mosh pit happen while I'm playing drums. I love it. I want to watch that. I want to see the stage diving, and you're like, I'm driving this thing, and if I stop driving, it's going to stop. I'm not going to stop driving. I'm going to go faster and faster. That bliss. And that whole scene, they didn't give a crap about anything other than like, hey, you want to do this? Let's do this.
Right.
I'm like, let's do this. Let's do it.
Do you think that the rock music scene, like the straight rock music scene, is it just, it's not even that it's cliquey, right? It's that it's less, like you're more likely to age out of being accepted.
Well,
right?
I think it was like that. Right?
Like, and I would never start a rock band now.
You wouldn't?
No way. I want to join a rock band that's already established.
Already in progress?
Forget it. What like how hard is it to get your fucking 50-year-old friends to go out and see a show?
That's the thing. You don't necessarily have to get your 50-year-old friends to come out and see a show.
Right.
You go to where they all are already out, and go play that.
Right.
So when I first went to Freak Out, because I was playing with the Power Trio, I first go to Freak Out, and I'm like, okay, like let me see what all this is about. And I was playing with Alyssa and Alyssa Martini and Kathy's band. And I knew she was in this Acetone band. I'm like, I should probably go see them. She's my bandmate. So I went and saw them. And first of all, like I'm looking around, I'm like, everyone is like dressed cool, and like they're sexy, and they're like, and it feels kind of dangerous, and it feels really fun, and I'm like, ooh, like my little tail's wagging, I'm like, ooh, this is fun. Like, this feels really good. I like this, right? And then can I get my water? Is that like a weird thing?
No, like yeah, of course, grab it, grab away.
So I go to see Acetone in the big ballroom, and I'm like watching this band. I'm like, oh my God, I should be in this band. Like I am, this is my music. I should be in this band,
Sure.
And whatever. I just went on doing all the things that I do. And then, I'm playing with Alyssa and I'm like, man, if you guys ever need a drummer, like, I just feel like this is my music. I feel like I like belong in this band. I didn't know Guy and Ian. I didn't know anybody. I mean, actually, I knew a couple of the people up there, but whatever. And then Guy and Ian came to see us, the Power Trio, because we were playing next door to where they were DJing. And like, I had no idea they'd be there. And I think I met him briefly, whatever. I didn't say much. And then a couple weeks later, Ian was moving to LA and Guy asked Alyssa, do you think Faith would want to play drums in Acid Tongue? I'm like, it's happening. I manifested a thing.
And when was that?
So I've been in that band like we're 2004, 2022, 2021. Like, November of 2021.
And you guys tour.
We tour. Yeah.
Was that your first touring band?
No. My first touring band was totally DIY, and that was in like 99. I was in a band called San Pedro Circus, which I loved. I worked with this woman, Sky Lynn, and she's a badass, and she played this beautiful Gibson ES335. Is that right? Something like that.
Babe. Pretty good for a drummer.
Yeah, right. That's what I got. And just through all these effects, and I mean, she was so technical.
Yeah.
But just not technical like Wheedly Noodly, but like she knew the chain of her pedals, right? She sat there and she figured it out. Signal-pathy stuff was totally her thing, and her tones were immaculate, and she could improvise, and it was amazing. And so she and I basically, there was like we did it as a 3 or 4 piece, I don't know. But the two of us put together a tour. So we started doing that. Then I think probably in 2007, I joined the Tiptons, the Tipton Sax Quartet plus drums.
Yeah.
I was the drums.
So is that Amy?
Denio.
Yeah.
Jessica Lurie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my first touring experiences was with them.
That's awesome.
They took me to Europe for the first time.
How killer.
Tell
me about that. Tell me about your first time going to Europe with a band.
I will. So, I think I had to actually get my passport for it. Like I hadn't left the country other than Canada. So, all right. I don't know if you've ever listened to that music. It was a good thing I had experience in playing odd time signatures, right?
Sure.
And, I'm not a jazz player. I don't know if I made that clear. But and it was kind of like klezmery, which I can totally get to, and Latin-y, which, I don't know. I mean, I've got that in my blood, but not necessarily in my body. But I faked it. It worked out-ish. But they were like, again, playing with the people that are much better than you. Like they're all like music. I mean, Amy Denio was a genius, an undeniable genius.
Yeah.
She was just so generous. So my first time going to Europe, I got to be with someone who, like a polyglot. We're in Germany, and she's like kind of fake in German. She's like speaking Italian beautifully. She, we didn't go to France at that point, but like she could do it. So the first place we go is Austria, and we're playing a music school. And I'm with like masters of music, and me fucking holding on for dear life, right? And you've played Austria. I don't know if you've played like this kind of environment, like kind of almost academic ish, right? But you maybe know a thing or two about that kind of crowd. And it was like silent. It was silent. They're watching me. And of course, the Tiptons have a long and storied history. They've been around for a very long time. They had been around for a long time by the time I joined, right? And so all I'm thinking is, these people are looking at me and they're not really reacting. And like Libbets, Elizabeth Pupo Walker, right? She was the percussionist, right? She was the person I was replacing because she was having a baby, right? She's a master too, right? And so here I am just like, I'm barely keeping up, terrified. And they're not reacting, or if they are, it's like, and so we take a step break and I go backstage and I just burst into tears. I'm like, they hate me. They hate me. They hate me.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So, but I go out there. Somehow I muster and I go out there and I play the second set and everything's fine. And afterwards, people are coming up and they're just gracious and sweet. And I'm like, okay, maybe they don't hate me. Maybe they just don't emote in the way that I would imagine that they might have, whatever. So, we did, Germany and Austria and Italy and Belgium and I just fell in love. I fell in love with that. And we were treated well, And we're playing jazz festivals and getting fed. People are opening their restaurant after hours and inviting us in and the thing.
It's a different vibe.
It's a different vibe. So I did 3 tours with them. And by the end, I had my ass handed to me by, I won't say who, someone in the band who I have not named yet, and I will not name, but just brutally fired me in a way that was just like, not only are you not good enough to be in this band, but you're not a very good person if you didn't make yourself good enough to be in this band. Like there's something flawed about your personality, right? So I just, tail between the legs, just, slumped off and just licked those wounds. I had other stuff I was still doing at the time, so it was fine, but it kind of destroyed me a little bit. That being said, I just want to shout out to Jessica and Amy, who both were very gracious and kind and, have like been like, wait a minute, no, that's not what we were thinking,
Did you take that energy forward with you though? Like, I've been fired from one band.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth was I didn't want to be in that band.
Yeah. Well, that's good then.
I didn't belong there.
Right.
But I wasn't going to quit because it was a gig. I was like, well, I'm playing in front of people.
Right.
But it motivated me.
Right. That's the thing, right? So, do you know the drummer John Ewing?
No.
He had a band called Reptile. He plays in a bunch of stuff. He's an amazing jazz player. He played in I probably shouldn't say. He played in a band that he also got fired from. And so he came up to me after that because Reptet had opened up for the Tiptons. That was the first gig I played with the Tiptons. It was at Lo-Fi, and we played after Reptet, and they were so good. Oh my God, they were so good. I'm like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go. Why didn't we play first? Can we redo this? Can I? No. Anyway, so he came up to me. He's just like, you know what? Like, I know what this feels like. And all you can do is just like go in and just prove to yourself.
Right.
Get yourself better. Just keep doing. And I did. I just kept working and working. And I'm still just working and working. I'm still just trying to be like, a quarter as good as I should be for where I am, But that's the work. I mean, that's
right.
The thing.
Of course.
Right? That's what it is. If you choose music, you will never reach, like there's always another thing. There's always another level,
Right now, I feel like the next level is stamina.
Exactly.
Because I don't want to buy into ageism, but there were a lot of people who were running around and like hobbyists,
mm-hmm.
In their 20s and 30s. I have a job.
Yeah.
And I just do music
because it's fun.
Right. That was never what I was doing.
Right.
I did music and I had a job to enable it.
Yep.
Period.
Right. Forever. Lifers.
And it seems ludicrous to be committed at that level at age 52, right?
Mm-hmm.
It seems, sometimes it feels ludicrous. Usually I'm like, well, what the fuck else am I going to do?
Right.
Have a career now?
Right.
Like, ew. I don't even want that.
Right.
Like, I'm doing what I want to do.
I know. It's hard though, right? Because you're like, is this ridiculous? And then I look at my dad who's still playing rock and roll. And I'm like, maybe it is.
Your dad's still gigging.
He's still gigging.
That's inspiring to me. I fucking love that.
Yeah. Yep. And now he takes the gigs he wants to take. He gets some good offers too. And now he takes what he wants to take and he doesn't want to leave. He's done the touring. He's done all the stuff. And now he's like, I'm good. I'll play some gigs.
Right.
You know, I'll play some gigs. My stepmom's awesome. She has a business. They do well enough. Living in New Jersey, you know, with their 2 dogs, being happy.
Good for them.
Yeah. I'm like, you know, I have a day gig too,
Sure.
you know, which I love, as you know. But yeah, I don't know. What do you do? Like, I mean, is it ridiculous to keep playing music at this point? I don't know. I sort of feel like,
no, it would be
why?
ridiculous to stop.
To stop, right? I mean, it's one of those things. You know how it is when you're, you know, you're playing in a different country. Maybe you speak the language, maybe you don't, but like you're speaking the same language.
Sure.
And you feel like that feeling of like, we're all in this freaking world together. And all I'm doing is trying to like live the most out of this life. I'm just going to just live the hell out of it as best I can, you know, and just enjoy and be grateful and all this stuff, right?
COVID was a huge motivator for me.
Me too.
Because all of a sudden I was motivated by mortality.
Right.
And I'd never been motivated by mortality before.
Totally. Same.
It wasn't even really on my radar. I was like, I'll just live miserably forever.
Right. Oh. And then you're like, hell no, this might be all we get.
Yeah, I might be dead this afternoon.
Totally. Exactly. And we just don't know what's going to happen.
We don't.
And we live in a world that's very charged right now. And there's that like, who knows what's going to happen at any point with any time? What do we have? We have right now. And if it's going to burn, you know, got to make some s'mores. You know?
They're not really in my diet plan right now, but they sound delicious.
Wow. Is it like that? Oh, I need a diet plan. Shit.
They sound delicious.
S'mores are delicious.
What do you have planned for the rest of your summer and the rest of 2024?
So let's see. The rest of this month, I think I'm playing Bite of Seattle on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
That's in like 2 days.
Yeah, that'll be last week when this comes out.
Wow. I just played Bite of Seattle. It was amazing. The most amazing things happened. So I have some gigs. Oh, we're playing the Snohomish block party thing with L7
Awesome.
on the bill. Playing the Tractor with Tootie Cole on the bill.
Awesome.
Playing Bumbershoot with all sorts of people on the bill. And then leaving on the 2nd of September for Europe.
Awesome.
Till like October 6th. Something like that. And then there's, you know, the Freak Out Festival. I think we're doing, it was a festival in California. I'm flying down to California to do a thingy. And then a lot of the stuff I'm not doing. Like there's a Mexico City date and New York that I was, you know, I'm like, I can't keep leaving. I can't do it all.
Have you been to
Desert
Mexico
Days,
City?
that's the California one. Yes. So I got to do Mexico City playing drums with Los Psychos. You know the band?
No, but I hablo.
Hablas?
I understand the words.
Los Psychos?
Yeah.
I know. Hard to understand.
Entiendo.
¿Entiendes? Muy bien. Muy bien, Miguel. So I played, so I have part of the Freak Out family, Carry On Kids, Mala Suerte. So there's this band Mala Suerte, which is Guy and Ryan from the Grizzled Mighty, and then Yasmina and Miguel from Carry On Kids. So the four of them, and Papi Psycho, who's the original. So Los Psychos were from Peru. They're like really early punk rock. Like mid 60s punk rock, right?
Okay.
Some would claim that they are like the first punk rock. Others would dispute. Proto-punk, right? But it is true, and I have experienced this, that for Latin America, Los Psychos is kind of like the Stooges, you know?
Right.
I mean, for there.
Rad.
Right. So I got asked to do this thing.
Los Stooges.
Los Stooges. Sí. Iggy. So I got asked to do that. So I went down to Mexico City and got to play with Papi Psychos and this and his band of youths. I was like the middle. But it was
awesome.
Phenomenal. So we did a festival, the Monkey Bee Festival. Yasmina Miguel put that on down there. And Acid Tongue's going to go back and play that, but I'm like, I can't. I'm an 11-year-old. I got to do mom business. I got mom business. Sure. I got dog business. I got, business. I got
business.
I got business. I have stuff here that I have to accomplish and get done. So Ian is going to go down and do that. But we got to play there in Querétaro. Then we did a little mini California thing where we played what is it, the Great American in San Francisco? Is that what I'm thinking of? Ooh,
the Great American Music Hall?
That one? It was great.
Sure.
It was great.
There are a lot of amazing venues there in San Francisco.
There are. Yeah. We played Kilowatt too as Acid Tongue.
I've played there.
Yeah. Bottom of the Hill. I played as Mega Babe. I play guitar in a punk band for a tour.
How did it go?
I was not good, but they were great.
I was not good.
I was not good, but I played chords, mostly the right ones, in time. I played them in time. If there was one thing I could do, it was do it in time.
That's good. That's more than a lot of folks do.
Yeah, I was not good, but I had a really good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we played the Bottom of the Hill. That was one of those things. I heard Dave talk about the dreams that you have where you're like completely unprepared, like you're about to go out on a stadium and you're like, oh my God, I haven't done any of my homework right. Play with Mega Babe was kind of like that, but only awake.
It was real.
Where I'm like, whew, it's a lot of people. Do I play guitar? I don't really play guitar. I got the gig because I was wearing cool pants. And someone was like, do you play guitar? I'm like, well, kind of, but I'm really a drummer. And they're like, that's cool. Yeah. Priorities.
You're like, I wish that I would have done some of that improv on guitar now.
Maybe it would have been a good idea.
Maybe that would be all right.
Not so bad. It would have been a choice. That would have been a choice. It would have been a different choice.
Do you ever miss Massachusetts?
It's a little PTSD-ish for me, And that being said, so I should say, like, as difficult as it was growing up there for me, I had really wonderful people looking out for me, which made it good. And my mom was a single mom, 3 jobs, trying to have her dance school. She didn't eat much because she was a dancer, and she definitely smoked and drank a lot. There might have been some Dexatrim. There's a lot of disco. There's a lot of roller disco. It was a time.
And a jazzercise.
There was some jazzercise. It was a thing, right?
Sure.
So it was. I saw the darker side of all of that, But my mom has, and I checked with her, and it's okay for me to. She's been in recovery for many years, like since I was in my early 20s. So it's been years, and she's doing much better and everything. still, Massachusetts kind of has, like I like to go back and visit, but it's like I had nightmares about going back there probably for 15 years after leaving, So I never really wanted to move back there. I thought maybe I could move to New York, maybe I could, be on the East Coast. But something about Massachusetts felt, like going backwards into a place that I didn't want to go. I didn't want to revisit that world. So, yeah, I miss some of the people. I miss some of the beaches. I miss some of the pizza. I miss pizza in general, kind of, But, yeah, I don't know.
So, no.
Let's call it a no.
We're going to go with no.
Let's just go with no. Did you grow up here?
Sorta.
Ish?
Yeah.
Huh.
Granite Falls.
Where's that?
It's up, do you know where Lake Stevens is? You know, wherever it is, turn right.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And you lived here and you lived in New York for a while.
And Portland.
In Portland.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm happy that you found your way to this place. I think it's a beautiful city.
Yeah.
I think anywhere you go in the world, people who live there will criticize it in some ways, or they'll have ideas about what they wish was different. But
yeah,
we have a beautiful place that for sure is flawed. And
sure,
there are clubs here and in the towns surrounding. You can play music here and earn a living if you dedicate yourself to it. And
there's good people, there's good art being created, and there's beauty, and there's water. We have good weather. I love it. I wouldn't like we were saying before, like maybe Spain,
I do love Spain.
I do love Spain.
I do love Portugal.
I've never been.
I spent a week in Portugal last week, and I was like looking at listings. I was just like, how can I make this happen?
Yeah.
Pretty great.
That's what I hear. I hear great things. I have friends who did that, like before the golden passport thing. They like bought property. They did the thing. I'm like, ooh.
The thing is, Portugal is a 2-hour flight to anywhere.
Right.
And if you got yourself to a place where you could do gigs, it's also a really affordable place to live.
Yeah.
I don't really have a retirement plan.
Same.
My tombstone will say retired.
Finally retired.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll have a tombstone? You think?
Probably not.
Right?
I don't think so.
But that seems like a good thing, right? Like, we should have like a little arts compound in Portugal,
Yeah.
For old people.
Yeah. Expats, where you can just go be your old weird self.
Yeah. Do you speak Portuguese?
No. Ooh. But I think no is universal.
It's more like no.
Yeah.
Well, I've been to Brazil. I've never been to Portugal. That's a different Portuguese.
Well, for sure.
So pretty.
It's a lot of I don't know. I can't get with the
Oh,
that's sounds.
But like that's kind of like that's continental though, right? Like I feel like in Rio, it's like Rio de Janeiro. Onde é o banheiro? Right? It's It's like that soft. But
there goes my Brazilian stats.
Sorry. Was that?
Yeah, fuck you, Brazil.
I'm
you
sorry.
Guys talk funny.
No, it's my favorite language ever. It's my favorite. I think it's like the prettiest. It's like pretty. Oh, did I tell
the Brazilian deadheads are going to be so pissed. I was going to say
just the fish heads and the deadheads and the Brazilians. I'm sorry, I can't help it. I love the language.
Everyone is subject to being made fun of,
mocked.
Yeah.
It's the East Coast asshole. No, I don't know. I loved it. I thought.
Where would you
Blah,
like to
blah,
tour
blah.
to that you haven't been?
That I haven't been
Yeah.
because I'm about to tour Spain, and even though I've been to Spain, I've never played in Spain. I'm really excited about that.
Oh man, it's
And
awesome.
Portugal
And for
would be great.
garage rock, they fucking love it.
I'm very excited about this part. And I think Portugal would be great. I would like to do Australia. I would love to do South America. I would love to go to Japan or really any Asia. You know, anywhere I haven't been, I would love to tour.
Right.
You know, I just sign me up. I love to travel. I love to meet people. I don't eat meat, but I will like try to, you know, engage in the local culinary fairs and you know, adventures and whatnot. And I just like to connect.
It's hard to be vegan in Spain.
But I'm not vegan, so I will eat that manchego all day long.
It's hard to even be veg in Spain.
It is. You're like, here's your cheese and bread.
Right.
No offense, Spain, because you have some really freaking good cheese and bread. But yeah, I mean, I found and the patatas bravas. You're like, it's a lot of carbs. It's carb city.
It's so good.
It's so good though.
It's kind of the best.
I know. So I'll be eating a lot of eggs probably.
Right.
It'll be a lot of eggs.
That's all right.
Hey, it's good.
Why not?
It's good. I mean,
I hope you have an amazing tour.
You too, because you're going on tour too.
I am leaving a couple times. I'm really 3 times before the end of the year. I'm really happy about it.
That's exciting.
I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be.
What are you most excited about?
I'm super fortunate. I'm most fortunate. I'm most excited about whatever I'm doing at that moment.
Yeah, right. I think that's the key, right? It's you know, recognizing when you're in that place where you're like, this is awesome. I don't want to be anywhere else. I am like I'm living the hell out of this moment. I'm just embracing this business, you know, and I want just to get back to, you know, when I did get the call to be an Acid Tongue and I got the call to go on that tour, you know, when I was with the Tiptons, once you tour Europe, you're like, I'm always going to tour Europe. Like, I'm just going to, like, I will come back here all the time. And I didn't.
Right.
It stopped. I did those 3 tours and then it stopped. And then Acid Tongue, you know, and at my age, which may or may not be your age, you know, I was like, you know, I'm probably done with that. That's probably done for me. And so when I got that call from Guy, it was like, do you want to go to Europe? It was like, do I really get to live this dream still? Is this really, like, do I get to have this life? How do I get to have this freaking life?
Because you've made yourself available to it.
Yeah. Open, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
If you tell people what you want and it comes to you,
yeah,
you're not necessarily lucky.
Right. Yeah. But I'm
like
more
you'd
grateful,
be lucky if you were waiting at a bus stop and someone was like, you look like a drummer. Are you a drummer?
Like with the pants with Mega Babe.
Right. And you were like, yeah. And they were like, hop in. We're going on tour.
Right.
That's lucky.
Yeah, that's lucky. Right. No, right. Yeah. I just feel lucky. I'm grateful. That's more of it.
That's good. That's how you should be.
Yeah.
But it's not lucky. Yeah. You've dedicated so much time in your life, so much energy of your life to doing a thing.
Yeah.
And you're still doing it.
Against all reason. How many people
do you know our potential age?
Yes.
Who just stopped for whatever reason.
Yeah.
They had a child.
Yes.
And they were like, well, I can't do it. I guess
this is done and I'm going to get a straight job. And, you know, I did it in college because it was fun. And then I was doing it all of that for sure. And yet against all, you know, logic, I don't know, is it stubbornness? No, it's that drive, you know, for some people it is a job. Music is a job. And I get that, you know, and that's good. And for me, it is like, it's more that I'm not religious. It's more like that though, in a sense. It is a job too. And
Sure.
sometimes it feels like a job. Sometimes you're hauling in drums.
Can do.
Hauling in drums, you're like, oh, this is work. This is work. But mostly it's just like it's that thing that, it's that space that you occupy that's like this. I mean, this is where my heart is free.
I believe in ritual happiness, whatever that ritual is for people.
Yeah.
Go for, as if it doesn't harm other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then go for it.
Well,
not you, Gary Ridgway.
Everybody, but yes.
Not you, Ted Bundy.
No. Yes. Yeah. But other than that, like, and for me, I love, all right, we love music, right? Saves our lives and everything. But it's a weird thing when you're watching music, and you're like, ooh, but I want to be like, I'm supposed to be kind of up there. Like, I think for me, that's always the thing. It's like if I'm at a festival, I'm most comfortable on the stage.
Right.
Right? You're like, but here is what feels comfy. My parents took me on stage when I was a baby, and I just didn't, whether it was dance recitals or whatever, it was just like that place that was like, oh yeah. It's like, yes, of course, it's where I can be a ham and whatever, but more it's just a comfortable zone. It just feels right.
Ironically, I do not feel comfortable in crowds, in like big crowds.
Yeah. Well, I don't either.
And if I have to be at a show, I stay in the back.
Mm-hmm.
I stay at a place unless it's not densely popular, unless
Right.
it's a sparsely attended show.
Right.
I will stand near the exit. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've never had a bad experience.
Yeah.
I've never. Once at an AC/DC concert, I felt like I was at risk of being trampled if I had fallen down. But
Right.
I've never had
that.
a moment where
Yeah, nothing bad happened. It's just not your zone.
I don't like people. I just don't like it.
Just being so close.
I don't like it.
And the touchy.
Well,
and the air.
It just feels like if things went sideways.
Right. Totally.
I don't like the idea of the chaos of cattle.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's a good survival skill for sure. And again, it's like, I love to drive the mosh pit. I do not want to be anywhere near the mosh pit. That's painful,
Also, I would much rather look at a fucking ram-packed room than a sparsely attended room.
100%. That's way more fun. One time though, I did get out, so I think it was one of the freak out shows, and I got down because I was just going to jump into the crowd for whatever reason. And I did get picked up, and I inadvertently, accidentally crowd surfed, and it's kind of weird because like there's people touching your body, and that's kind of weird. But also it was kind of rad.
Right.
Not the touching part necessarily as much as the like, whoa, this is kind of a wave, It's kind of neat. I don't know.
I don't trust people enough to body surf me.
Oh no, for sure. It was, and I, as a Pilates.
You're more manageable body also than me.
Well, yeah, and I was like this, I'm like, I wasn't like, take Calgon, take me. I'm like,
right.
Okay, here we go. But it was fun. But I'm like, I'm holding this up the whole time. It's good. It's all right. It's weird. It's probably weird, but I did the thing.
Maybe before I die, I'll try it.
Well, it was one of those things. I'm like, this is an experience. I'm having the hell out of this experience right now.
Right.
Go.
Did you get pictures?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
Awesome.
I know. I'm like, I did that. Look, kid, for 1 second in your mom's life, I was cool.
Look how cool your mom is.
Right?
Whatever.
She's like, whatever. No, she's still like, she's at a lovely age where like, I'm still kind of cool. Until she sees this. And she's
she interested in music?
She is. I mean, so she started off like, she drew this when she was 5.
Awesome.
Yeah. She fell in love with Kiss on her own because I was like, that's weird. That's not my stuff. Like, I'm not, whatever. Like, and whatever. I just didn't go there. It's not what I was interested in. And she saw at her grandparents' house an episode of Scooby Doo and Kisses on it. And then, so she gets in the car with, like, she had spent the night at her grandparents. She gets in the car, 5 years old. She's like, can we listen to I Was Made for Loving You by the band Kiss? And Mike and I just turned around. We're like,
say what?
What now? And then it was obsession. So she still loves Kiss. We took her when she was 9 to the Gorge. And I'm like, I can't believe I have to go to a Kiss show.
It's pretty fucking fun. And
then what I realized was like, this is the world's most elaborate drag show. It's amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yes.
The hydraulics and the thunder, all of it. The blood, the theatrics. Great. It was amazing. I was like, this is fantastic. It was cold and yet it was warm through all the fire, incredible. So we watched like the Madison Square Garden last concert and everything, pay-per-view. It was like my only pay-per-view I've ever done in my life. But I did that one so my kid could watch Kiss have their last concert. It was great. So yeah, she likes music. I mean, she's likes like the Billie Eilish and the Taylor Swifts of the world. But she also like, when you're like, just put on a thing, go put some music on. It might be the Clash or Jay Retard too.
Here's the thing. I think that Kiss, sold the rights to their likeness and all that.
Yeah, they're doing like
your daughter could be in Kiss when she grows up. Like that band, I think, will continue. I think that is incredible.
It's rad. It's great.
How great is that?
It's all the way great. I mean, why not, right? Why not? You don't need to invent another Kiss. There's already a Kiss.
They do. They have some creepy songs that I think are.
Oh, do you want to know what's disturbing? What's disturbing is when you're standing there and your child is on a chair behind you at the Gorge with her fist in the air, screaming the words "Lick it up," and I'm like, "It's ice cream. We are talking about ice cream, kid."
That's right.
Yeah. Well, but that's rock and roll, right? I mean, we could get into a whole thing about that as well. And, but we don't need to because we know.
Right.
Right.
I think, yeah.
There's a lot of that.
It's time that shall not be relived, I think.
Right. Which is good.
For sure.
But some of the music, man.
The music, for sure.
Unimpeachable.
Some of the
behavior.
The 360 of the art is questionable, but
absolutely,
I think a lot of art is that way.
Yes, we could talk about Wagner. We could talk about Picasso. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Bad behavior has happened throughout the time, and bad behavior was called something different, like normal.
Right.
Yeah.
Challenging.
Only the benefit of hindsight can show you how terrible humanity can be. And then also, glorious. Here we are having glorious times too, right?
Yeah.
And eating delicious things and hanging out with really great people.
I'm happier in my life to have spent this time with you and got to know you better.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. And I'm really glad to know you. I had heard about you, and then I had seen your couch riffs while you were still in New York. And when you first came on my radar, I was thinking about this because I'm like, what was the time before Mike Squires? Or when did that happen? You know what it was? I played at Neumos for the 10th anniversary of Neumos, 20th anniversary of Moe's. They did like a whole a bunch of different shows, and I was playing with like Greta Harley and Ron Nine, and we did like a kind of a grunge retrospective thing. Mm-hmm. And after that show, I think who played that night? I don't know if Goodness played that night, maybe, or I don't know. Anyway, it was like a bunch,
Goodness and maybe Lucky Me.
And Lucky Me.
Oh, I loved that band so much.
And you Facebook friended me after that.
I'm nice.
Wasn't that nice of you? Yeah. And I was like, who's this guy?
Friend.
Who's this guy? Now a friend. And that's when you came on my radar. So what's that? 10 years ago?
I think that was, I mean, I still lived here. So, yeah, at least 10 years ago, maybe 12.
Something like that.
But I still lived here, but I didn't live on Capitol Hill. Because I remember I had left Capitol Hill and someone was like, it's really gone sideways up here. There's been a stabbing every weekend for the last 3 weeks in a row.
See what happens when you leave?
Right? The guardian angel.
That's right. The moral compass.
When the cat goes away, the mice will play.
Those were bad mice. Those were naughty
mice.
Bad mice. No cheese. Yeah. So anyway, to wrap that up, thank you for having me. Again, I was like, I don't know why I get to do it, but I'm glad I do.
You are an awesome guest.
Thank you.
And a great storyteller.
Oh, good.
And last year I got to see Acid Tongue at the West Seattle Summerfest.
You had just moved back, right?
I had just gotten back.
Yeah.
And it was so great.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is great. I didn't have this space yet. Yeah. And I was like, okay. And I was making mental notes like, I need to be, I'm paying attention.
Yeah. What's happening?
Here's folks that I would love to, they're on my wish list.
Yay.
So I'm glad that you agreed to do this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yay. It's good. It's been fun. You're good at it. Like I said, I've been watching the things. I'm like, oh yeah, it's just like a nice conversation.
There's a couple of people talking with microphones.
Goes places.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, is this thing on?
I wish you the best of everything.
You too.
Absolutely everything.
We're going to be in Europe at the same time. And
we'll have a week overlap.
I know, but you're... Ooh.
No, Duff.
Is that Duff?
Yeah.
Is he like the one who gets through? Is he like the one person who your phone will ring for?
This is turned off, but whatever my computer, for whatever reason, I didn't put it on sleepy time or whatever. Sleepy
time? Well, if you're going to get a call.
I got a call. I guess that's a perfect time to wrap it up.
That's quite the call.
Thank you.
Thank you.